This is DC Danton Crow Crusader. It's the 18th of September, Wednesday. Of course, our hideous Georg Schmidt is here in the corner. Yeah. We lost another of our little crow friends this week, as we all know, Monday morning. Our little rescued crow, which looks like poison. I talked to my birdman yesterday, and he said he thought it was poisoning as well. I guess he refrained from saying that to me that day because he wanted to give me hope. But it looked like he did what he could for the bird. And at least he was warm, he was loved, he was fed, and he didn't have to die in the cold rain that day somewhere under a bush in a hedgerow, which is usually, people always ask, well, where are the dead bodies? Sometimes, if you're really, really lucky, you suspect something like this, you might find a dead crow. If it's multiple poisoning, one that can't make it to a place that's safe. But if you Google on the internet, you'll find it's nearly impossible to find a poisoned bird or a shot bird, or unless it's shot right there near you. It's really hard to find a sick bird or a poisoned bird. They'll fly away if they're able to. They'll go back usually to their home, to the place where they roost, and they usually die there. I have in the Saborg Park here along the shores of Lake Constance found a bird or two underneath a tree. And one tree was a giant sequoia tree. And I assumed he couldn't make it up the tree anymore. Couldn't fly up to the lower branches because they're pretty high. And yeah, there are some sequoia trees in the Saborg Park, believe it or not. People have brought these trees over, and since we have a mild climate here on the shores of Lake Constance, they do grow. And he couldn't make it up to the lower branches, and he died right there underneath the tree. So yeah, it's really impossible to find these birds. They just don't come back. They're here every day for years, and then all of a sudden, like Charlie, they just don't come back. And sometimes you're lucky enough to see the symptoms, but they can still fly, and then they fly away, and then you can't track them anymore. They're gone. Like Charlie. Charlie, the last day he disappeared, exhibited symptoms. So, yes. People always ask me that, well, where are the bodies? Okay. Well, try to find the bodies. That's another thing. I saw Georg Schmidt on the rooftop of the shopping center pick up 3 birds into a yellow plastic bag with my binoculars, and 2 pigeons and 1 crow. I mean, I have high-powered binoculars. I am, after all, an animal activist, so I do have some equipment. Okay? And that's one of them. And that is one of the reasons I chose that apartment. Was offered other apartments in that building, and I wanted that one because I had full view of the shopping center and the rooftop. So there you go. But of course, you know, you have your binoculars there, but I didn't always have my camera there, which I should have. But sometimes I use my camera for other things, and the GoPro is just not good for long distance. Just isn't. I have to do that with my digital camera, and Sometimes I have it in my bedroom, and sometimes I have it in the car. And on that particular day, unfortunately, I did not have it on the windowsill, because then I could have filmed him. So, anyway, yes, that is the reason I chose that apartment. So, and if I hadn't, I would not have been able to see all the things that I see that link this janitor to the poisoning of these crows. Okay? By the way, there was a comment, like some of the new subscribers who attacked me right away because they don't have all the information. There was an elderly lady with a walker who walked through the nuts the other day, and this person seems to be under the illusion this elderly lady is an innocent elderly disabled lady. First of all, she's not disabled, okay? She goes out walking. I know most of the people here who live around the shopping center, and she's one of them. And she hates birds. What you didn't hear are the nasty comments that she made in Swiss German as she walked by. That you didn't hear. But she made them, as she always does if she sees me. She walks several kilometers a day with her walking sticks. She uses her walker to grocery shop as a wagon. And many of the people do here. And even on occasion, when I've been on Seattle visiting my son, Brian has come down the shopping center here or to another one down the road, and he uses his walker. He uses his walker as a shopping cart. And that's what she was doing. And yes, she could have walked around onto the curb because she's in great shape. No problem with her. She walks every day, rain or shine. And yes, she hates the birds. She hates me feeding the birds. She doesn't want the birds here. And it goes on and on and on. So, there's an idiot, right? In a Mercedes. Old man and woman. Well, they don't like the birds, do they? So, there's our little Seymour. So I just want to say, as usual, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. So, but I can understand that. And since you're disabled yourself, you take care of a disabled spouse, my heart goes out to you. You're a brave soul. And there's no slight on disabled people, but you're wrong about this person. Okay? And she is not disabled. So I would never do that to someone who truly was disabled, and I didn't know who they were. I wouldn't have said anything. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want them to go off the curb. But it's not the case with this woman. So, yeah. I guess she's in her 80s. But yeah, there are quite a few elderly people here who hate the birds. I don't know if it's because they just look at birds as a nuisance, as something that dirties up the building, black crows, or we have to remember we live in a very superstitious, I live here in a very superstitious country. These people here believe in a lot of things that, as Americans in our mindset, we just don't put any credence into any of those superstitions, right? Black cats and this and that. I guess there probably are some people, but the majority of us don't, as Americans, don't believe in that. But when you step foot on the European continent, you truly go in many ways back in time, okay? not just with infrastructure and other things that are not modernized yet, especially when you go out of the cities into other countries, into rural areas. It really is like stepping back in time, right? You see that cell phone juxtaposed with a, with the farming community where they're still using a tractor that's 70 years old, plowing the field, and sometimes even still using horses to plow the field and carry things, bales of hay and so forth. So yes, it is. It's amazing. It is amazing. That's one of the things you learn when you come to Europe, and in some ways it's endearing, but in other ways it's very frustrating. So there's a little guy waiting. So yes, but it's very, very tough, because with people who are new subscribers, you have to look at the whole story. I know there's like over 1,000 videos there, and no one can be expected to catch up with that. But on the other hand, you cannot jump to conclusions, okay? If I make a comment against this lady, it's because she's nasty. She's nasty toward the birds and me, and she's not disabled. She could have walked down this curve. These are cobblestone curves. Look at them. Look, they're not very high. They're not